Hello, I'm Brian Glick. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Computer Weekly. Now, we're here to talk about cloud computing. Why? Well, because wherever you are in your cloud journey, there's a lot going on in the world of cloud computing at the moment. Now, like many organisations, you're probably facing a lot of economic pressures at the moment. You're probably being told to manage and control the costs of your IT infrastructure. But at the same time, you want to take advantage of many of the great new innovations that are coming out at the moment, in particular, artificial intelligence. You're probably hearing words thrown around like multi-cloud, distributed cloud, edge computing, and trying to work out exactly what that means for where you are and where you want to go with the cloud. Now, today we're going to try and help to make some sense of all of that. And here to joining me now to try and explain what's going on in the cloud world today is John Bradshaw. John is the Director of Cloud Computing, Technology and Strategy for Europe, Middle East and Africa at Akamai. John, after that very big job title, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, Brian.
Now, John, you're existing in this world all the time, looking at cloud, talking to all sorts of different organisations about how they're using cloud and what their plans are. Let's start by just give us your perspective of where the world is with cloud at the moment, particularly across the area you're responsible for around Europe, Middle East and Africa, and EMEA, as we'll no doubt abbreviate to. What are the big trends? What's going on? What's changing?
Well, we're seeing a lot of change at the moment. Organisations are being asked to do a lot more with a lot less. And we see that everywhere, and that is reflected in economic headwinds across the market. But we're also seeing really interesting patterns emerge. So areas that previously you might thought of maybe not invested as much in cloud are starting to boom. And one of the latest Forrester reports shows Italy as the highest spender per enterprise on building out their cloud capabilities. And that's then reflected in how we engage with that market and where we're seeing those individuals go as well. But you've also got the big elephant in the room of AI. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone is really keen to see what it can do for them. And one of the areas that we spend a lot of time engaging is around hyper-personalization. We want to get back to that experience that maybe my mum and dad had when you went into a department store. They knew who you were. They knew the things you liked, and they came out and engaged with you and showed you those things, rather than just being thrown random products or services. So it's getting to a point where you have a real fascination with a brand or a real engagement with them. And that's starting to come across more and more in the way that I'm engaging and what I'm seeing people want.
Yeah, now there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there, and it's just interesting that just sort of little regional variations even that you bring to it, which is quite unusual. So let me, if I may, just drill down perhaps into some of the trends, some of the technologies that people are no doubt hearing a lot about at the moment. One of those is around what we've come to call the edge. It's not the guitarist from U2.
Oh, that was my joke.
Sorry. It's edge computing. People talk about edge native applications. We hear talk about distributed cloud related to that as well. Can you explain these trends a little bit to us and what's driving them and where are they going? And most importantly, why are they important to people that are watching us talk now?
Yeah, absolutely. So for lots of applications, especially if they're the real thing that is your business, if you're a retailer or you're an airline, your core platform is the ability to get customers on your site, buy the thing that you have, move on. Now, those ones are particularly suited to edge and distributed because elements of them can be broken apart and placed much closer to their end users. So if you're having to price flights from London to Dubai or wherever, you want to see all of that inventory responding to you instantly. You can't wait to go all the way back to a central location which has all the flight information. You need to be able to very quickly gather that. And when it's not just one person asking, it's thousands of people a second, plus aggregators, plus. You need to be able to respond very quickly or your users move on. There are some applications that don't work well for that. You don't need payroll distributed as an example, but those that have different components that run maybe asynchronously from one another do benefit from that. And where that kicks in, what you end up with is a need to be much closer. So that last mile piece where you can change results or you can change content to suit that user or their particular needs based on what you know about them, it becomes much more relevant and it gives them better information, better outcomes for you as an organisation.
It's an interesting trend that you described there, because I think it's probably fair to say most organisations initially sort of went into what you might call a monolithic cloud.
Yes.
And now, as you say, new requirements coming through, getting closer to customers, wanting to distribute that better. Now that's happening at a time when the economy's not great. There's a lot of pressure on budgets. Every IT leader is being asked to drive down on efficiencies and cost. But as I said at the start, also there's a lot of great new innovations they want to do, not just within the cloud, but largely cloud-based tools like AI and a lot of others as well. How are you seeing organisations going about managing that conflict, if you like, between innovation and pressure on cost, especially when they can see things like Edge that they really want to do, and they're thinking, well, is this the right time?
Well, constraint is the mother of invention, ultimately. And I think we've seen that with DeepSeek. Instead of it costing billions to generate a model, it's cost millions because they haven't had access to the things they would need to generate a traditional model. But we've also, if we take a look at the market just generally, I think what we've seen is actually multiple cloud rather than multi-cloud. You have a hyperscaler who delivers your data platform, whatever that is. You have a hyperscaler who does your collaboration platform, and then maybe another one, because when you've got two, you may as well have three. What we haven't seen really is people take their workloads and make them portable and break that lock-in that they have on those different platforms. If you built it on hyperscale A, then you can't move it to B without a huge amount of effort, massive multi-million-dollar refactoring program. And that constrains you, and that restricts your ability to innovate into new technology or new ways of working, because you're stuck. These managed services, whilst they start looking very appealing, they very quickly become very expensive as an alternative. And we spoke just before now about how I once got a bill for managing my managed database, which didn't make any sense to me at the time. But it's there and it's real, and people are not seeing the savings they thought they would see with their big moves to cloud. What multi-cloud lets you do, especially in a portable sense, and we're seeing more people interested in that, is you can take that workload and put it where you need it, when you need it, at the price point that you're comfortable with, before you decide, well, okay, that's done. I want to move it here, or I want to move it there, or I've fallen out with these people, so I'm going to change this. You get back all of that control rather than ceding it to a provider.
So, John, you talked there about some of the best practices that you've seen emerging in this difficult conflict between managing cost and managing innovation. Let me throw that back at you. You're talking here about lots of other companies that are trying to do this. How about some first-hand experience? What have you, Akamai, been doing about this?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's one thing to talk the talk, and it's another for the to mix metaphors, for the rubber to hit the road. So we firmly believe this is the right way forward, and that's why we made the acquisition of Linode 2-3 years ago. Now, what we've done is we've started to move all of our business-critical workloads over to Linode, because you can imagine before that we were big consumers of hyperscale cloud. And in the first year of operation of moving workloads, we've seen a 40% cost saving. Now, that's not fancy financial mechanics there. That's the price on the street. And we're now predicting to see around about 70% for the year 2 operations. So these are ginormous savings that come from moving away from the hyperscale managed services with all their incumbent costs into an open and portable cloud. And it allows us to expand our services, and you can imagine we've got tens, hundreds of services for security and distribution and cloud as well. And it's enabling our teams to innovate and to come up with new ways of working, new answers to the demands from our customers. And so far, 40% in the first year, and then we're really on track for 70. It's a remarkable amount of cost saving, which is why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, I really like that distinction you make there between multi-cloud and multiple clouds, and I think that's something a lot of people will probably recognise. I think, as you said, a lot of organisations have found themselves using multiple clouds because of different projects, different decisions that they made as part of their journey. But obviously, the dream is multi-cloud, where you're using multiple cloud providers, but as one sort of seamless cloud. Now, I doubt there are many people who are quite there yet, but I'm sure you're talking to early adopters, people who are making some of the leading lights in that sort of area. This idea of being able to seamlessly port workloads and data between different clouds from different providers and that sort of thing. Are there any emerging best practices in that you're seeing? Are there things that people who want to get to that point could learn from those early adopters? Yeah,
absolutely. So we're seeing people move to those CNCF-backed open source projects.
CNCF?
Now you've got me. The Cloud Native
Computing Foundation.
Thank you. Yes, I'm terrible with names. So they, as an organisation, have a whole stable of platforms, architectures, applications that actually, which is a bit of a secret for the industry, power all of the services that you're probably familiar with in a hyperscaler, save maybe a few there. But they're built to be shared and to be contributed on by the industry and by the marketplace as a whole. By adopting those technologies, you start to get that control back, and you can go, for my big data project, I want to use Spark, or I want to use XYZ thing, and I can put that wherever I have the best commercial engagement or the best team who are near that data. There are constraints, of course. So there are challenges with moving data around the world. It is expensive on some of these platforms. So that has to be taken into consideration. What we're starting to see, to slightly come back to the edge point, is that we have customers who build, say, massive models in the center from an AI point of view, and then export the product of those to the edge. So they can make decisions in near real time, much closer to those users, but the benefit of all that data at the center and at the core without having to shuttle things backwards and forwards.
That's a very attractive vision that you're presenting there, John. And I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking, we'd love to get there, but to quote another line, if you want to get there, you probably wouldn't start where you are today.
Yes, absolutely. If you want a tree, the best time to plant it was 20 years ago.
Exactly. What do you find are the biggest barriers that people who are perhaps on the earlier stages of their cloud journey are finding that are preventing them taking the steps forward to the sort of technologies and trends you're talking about, to edge, to distributed cloud, to all these sort of, potential enormous benefits that they can get? Why aren't they doing it?
So there's a combination of things. Lots of enterprises are structured in such a way that they've outsourced a large amount of their internal technology teams. And that makes sense because you can get economies of scale with partnerships. But that also, as a consequence, means it's slightly harder to innovate because you don't necessarily have the people who have that deep technical understanding of what you're trying to do. So the way to approach it that works is to reduce the risk. So you don't say, right, tomorrow I'm getting rid of all my hyperscalers, I'm going to move to an open cloud platform. That will never happen and it will never work, and your feet won't touch the ground if you do suggest it. What you need to do is look for those applications that are going end of life, that need to be modernized, or maybe you've got a new project or a new program you want to bring out, and you start to look at, well, okay, we've got all this legacy or historic compute technology. What if we just put a pin in that? What could we do with a blank sheet of paper and work out how we can best leverage these services? And it could be something as trivial as the thing that prints your canteen menus, all the way up to your next ERP system. But you're never going to get the business confidence without having that demonstrable practice of we did it with a small thing, low value, low impact, and we start to grow it out from there. And then you have to find the partners and the technologies that you're comfortable with, that align with what you're trying to do. And that is a bigger digital transformation almost of your business.
So there's a roadmap emerging from what you're talking about, John. You've talked there about picking core applications as being the ones to first move. For some of the more mature users, it's then about looking to edge and distributed, and looking how you can get your applications closer to their end users and their consumers. The reality is probably a lot of people who are watching us now are a pretty early stage on that sort of journey. If you could leave our audience with one thing above anything else that you would say to them at this point in 2025, with the state of the cloud market today, if there's one thing they ought to be considering above all else to help accelerate their journey to the cloud, what would that be?
Think about your next 5, 10, 15-year goals as a business, and work out where your partners in technology are going to either make you money, save you money, or reduce your risk. Those are the only 3 drivers that count. And from there, start to look at areas that you can take that are low risk, that can start to build confidence that open or portable is going to meet your goals. And that will start to give you the internal confidence that it's deliverable. But you need that horizon. You need to say, well, what is my business going to be in a decade? And then start to build really backwards from that in order to make those right steps. Otherwise, you're going to end up in 5, 10 years' time realizing that you are so deeply embedded in a provider that the costs of exiting are going to be so ginormous that they're representing a massive drag on your ability to innovate and compete with the market.
Yeah, it's not going to be long before we're going to start hearing people talking about cloud as legacy IT, is it?
Of course. There's going to be the next thing.
Yeah, so that long-term vision that you described there is obviously going to be critical for any organisation that wants to avoid that. John Bradshaw from Akamai, thank you for coming along and sharing all your experiences and the benefits of all the different organisations that you're talking to and helping on their cloud journey at the moment. That's all we've got time for at the moment. I hope we've been able to give you some useful insights into what's going on in cloud today, to help explain to you some of the key trends and why they're so important. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon. Bye-bye.